I'm at Samsung Unpacked for the new S24 series, so let's take a look at all of these new phones and also some of the fun exhibits, like this one. Okay, so these are the new S24 Ultras. They come in titanium gray, black, violet, and yellow, and as the name suggests, they now have a titanium rim, just like the iPhone 15 Pro lineup. I like how the rims are now matte instead of glossy. It's less fingerprinty, and also the rims on the phone and the camera are color matched with the back of the phone. Well, except for the violet one. For some reason, the accent color for that one is just silver. It kind of gives it this interesting contrast, but the violet version for the S24 do have the matching rim and camera bump, and I think that just looks a bit cleaner. The S24 and S24 Plus lineup comes in the same colors as the Ultra. However, it's a different shade. This one's the white one, this one's the violet, black, and cream. And here's a look at the Ultra purple and the regular purple. The Ultra one is a lot darker. Here's a side-by-side of the two white colors. Well, this one isn't really white. The two black ones are pretty similar. And here are the two yellow ones. The Ultra yellow is definitely more saturated. This one is more cream-like. For the Ultra, the yellow color is probably my favorite one. I think it's nicely saturated and it feels pretty fresh. And the sides for the S24 are just aluminum, but they're also matte this year, and I definitely prefer the matte. It feels nicer in the hand and it doesn't get oily looking. But besides that, the build and design are pretty similar to last year. The camera bumps are about the same size, and the weight differences to last gen are not really noticeable, even for the Ultra with its new titanium build. But there are some small detail changes. The display is basically flat now, and I do like this change because I always felt that a curved screen slightly affected the image on the two sides by darkening it. And now with the more flat screen, it's much less of a problem. The S24's got boxier as well. The sides on the new ones are actually completely flat, but the corners and the transition between the screen and the sides are still rounded, so it feels about the same in the hand, still feels pretty nice. Also, the S24 Plus is actually slightly bigger now. Its display is 6.7 inches instead of 6.6, and here's a look at the size differences between all of the new phones. The S24 Ultra is 6.8 inches just like before, and the S24 is 6.2 inches. I also discovered that all three models have a new speaker grill. Well, actually, it's no longer a grill, it's like a slit. It looks very interesting. I didn't get a chance to listen to anything, but I'll definitely test out these new speakers in my upcoming full review. But yeah, overall, it almost feels like all of the phones are becoming the same in terms of the physical design. But the Ultra does still have the pen, which does make it a more unique phone, and depending on the color of the phone that you get, the S Pen can be a different color as well. Their screens got a much more major upgrade. All three can now hit 2600 nits peak. That's quite a lot brighter than the 1750 nits peak from last year, and also the iPhone 15 Pro's 2000 nits peak. The Ultra still has a 1 to 120 Hz screen, but something new this year is that the S24 and the S24 Plus also have an adaptive 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate. The Ultra still has a quad HD screen, and the S24 still has a full HD one, which is fine for its size. I thought last year the S23 Plus could have looked a bit sharper given its size, and now the S24 Plus finally got a quad HD screen as well. Now the S24s pretty much have the best screens ever with basically no drawbacks. And before we continue, I want to show you today's video sponsor, 10Web. It's an AI website builder that's seriously impressive. You just answer a few prompts about your business, and then it'll start to build a website using AI. And it's not just a super basic website. It generates layouts, designs, images, text, and this is all just from the prompts. It really does make building websites so much faster. Each generated website is actually a WordPress site, so you can still use all kinds of WordPress plugins and functionalities. It's also very easy to further edit the website. 10Web has all kinds of widgets that you can just drag and drop in. There's a pricing table, and even this animated headline that looks really cool. You can also easily move around all of the elements just by dragging and dropping. Overall, I found it very easy and intuitive to edit the site. And for text on the website, there's the Write with AI feature that can help make it shorter or longer. You can even make it a certain tone. 10Web also fully manages all of the technical aspects of the website, like backups, security, hosting, scalability, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Check out 10Web at the link in the description. All right, and moving on to the cameras. So for the S24 and the S24 Plus, not much changed. They still have the same megapixel for all of their lenses. The Ultra's camera hardware also didn't change much, except now the 10x telephoto is replaced with a 5x but it's 50 megapixels. So you get a very high resolution 5x photo. And actually, you can still get a 10x photo at 12 megapixels. Last year's 10x was a 10 megapixel camera. So I'm really curious to see if this year's 10x will actually be better than last year's. Also, there's supposedly a new AI algorithm that will help with the processing and also the zoom photos, and I'll be testing this out. Actually, AI is like infused into this phone. There are lots of these new AI-powered features like live translation, AI slow-mo, circle to search. This is all powered by the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy chip, which is supposed to have more AI compute power. They had lots of these AI demonstrations, and the one that I thought was the coolest is AI edit. So you can move a subject to a different place in the photo, and you can also just completely remove something. You can also rotate the photo, and then instead of having to crop in, you can maintain the framing and it'll fill the rest in.
Press generate. This does take a little bit longer than the on-device features just because all of the data is going to the cloud. These three little stars also that you're seeing in the center here, you'll see really small in this left corner, just to show you that it's been augmented with AI. It has that little star. And so this is the new one, and this is our original, new,
Wow.
and original.
Yeah, wow.
There's lots of different things you can do with it. It's very fun.
You can also erase reflections and erase shadows.
If for any reason you decide you liked how it looks, then you can just toggle it on and off.
It seems to be able to make very drastic alterations to the image. There's also AI slow-mo, where you can turn a video from 30 FPS to 120 just by holding down on it.
As soon as you remove your finger though, it goes back to full speed. Then if you want to kind of save it on a more permanent basis with a little pencil, you can also adjust the speed, whether you want it to be a fourth of the speed like you saw before, or even a half. And you can also toggle these around. So if you want maybe the first 3 seconds to be slow, the rest to be normal, or vice versa.
So all of these work super well in the demos, but of course I will be testing them out to see how well they hold up in real life. And moving on, there's also live translation. So when you're calling someone, it'll translate what you're saying to them and then also translate what they're saying back. And it seemed to work pretty fast, but I'm not sure about the translation quality and also how well it can hold up in real life. There's also circle to search, and it's pretty impressive because it works everywhere, like on Google search, in the photo gallery, and even when you're just taking a photo, you can just circle the thing and then it'll look up that object on Google. There's a few other ones like generating a summary for a document and changing the tone for a text message. There's also this voice note feature where if you're talking to someone and you're recording it, it'll transcribe what each of you are saying. It can differentiate between the different speakers, and then at the very end, you can even get a summary of the meeting. Another point is that the S24 Plus now only comes in 12 gigs of RAM and starts at 256 gigs for storage, so just like the Ultra. The S24 still comes in 8 gigs of RAM and starts at 128 gigs for storage. So actually this year, the S24 Plus is the one that got the most amount of hardware changes. It's now more like a slightly downgraded version of the S24 Ultra rather than just a bigger version of the S24. And the good thing is that its pricing stayed the same. It still starts at $999. The S24's pricing also stayed the same. It's starting at $799. However, for the S24 Ultra, it actually got a slight price increase, and now it starts at $1,299. And that's definitely a lot. And as for the battery, so for the S24 Ultra, it stayed the same at 5,000 milliamp hours. For the other two, they got slight battery capacity increases. The S24 is now 4,000 milliamp hours, and the S24 Plus is now 4,900 milliamp hours, so a 200 milliamp hour increase. As for charging, it stayed the same. The S24 Ultra and the Plus supports up to 45 watt for charging, and the regular S24 supports up to 25 watt. And lastly, all three models are going to ship with One UI 6.1. I have played around with One UI 6 a little bit, and I do like the small refinements, like the new quick settings panel, which shows a bit more options. The lock screen is also a bit more customizable. There's a few more styles, and you can also move the clock around. So yeah, those are the new S24s. I will have full reviews coming soon, so be sure to subscribe.